Welcome to this video on effective interest in regards to bond amortization. And in this specific case, we are encountering a bond that has a bond premium. You'll notice that I have pasted in here all the information in regards to this specific problem. We actually will do the information for the problem is 14.4, but we are completing 14.5. So the first thing we have is in A, the issuance of the bonds. These bonds sold at premium. They sold in excess of their par value. This means that we received more in cash than we will have the obligation to pay off when these bonds come to maturity. These are 20-year bonds, and they have a 10% coupon rate. So at 102, $600,000 in bonds, the cash proceeds, so the increase in cash it's $612,000. Real quick, do a little bit of formatting because that will make me crazy if I don't see the commas. We have an obligation at the point of this transaction. We enter into an agreement that we will, in 20 years, pay back $600,000. So we have bonds payable of $600,000 that we need to account for. And then we have the adjunct account of premium on bonds payable. So this impacts our interest or our cost of borrowing over the term of the loan or of the borrowing. In this case, the bond term. So we have a premium on bonds payable. And let me just stretch this puppy out a little bit more, give it some more room, of $12,000. That is the 2% overage on the $600,000. We don't owe this money back to the bondholders. They will not receive this back. We will be paying regular interest payments at 10% along the course of this bond. That's what our cash is that will go out. So we will pay out cash, but our cost of borrowing will be less because our bondholders paid for this at a premium. So to figure all of this out, when it comes to what our payment of interest and our related amortization would be at any specific point in time, we need to create an amortization table. When we sell a bond, when we have a bond issue, we would create this at that exact point in time. So let's real quick make our schedule of premium amortization. We're going to use the effective interest rate method. This is the method that is applicable to the amount of interest that was demanded by the borrower at the point of the transaction. So this is on the market rate. I think this is a 10% note. Yes, or a 10% bond. So this is 10%. And then we're discounting at or we're amortizing, my apologies, at 9.75%, because that is the amount that the public, the market was at the point in which we sold this. Because we are issuing at 10, we are actually issuing higher than what market demanded, which is why we received more in proceeds. These are 10% bonds sold to yield 9.75%. And one of the factors that matters is time. So they're 20-year bonds. Yep, they're 20-year bonds. I always double check after I do all of these entries to make sure that I haven't lost my mind and that everything is correct. So the first thing we have is date. Then we're going to have the amount of cash paid with each interest payment. We have the interest expense. We have the premium amortization. And let's just go ahead and make that a double. Make these puppies bigger to begin with. So I'm going to open this up just a hair. Oh, almost, not quite. So I'll open that up a little bit wider here. Let's go ahead and do the same thing with interest. And then we have carrying value. So carrying value at any given point in time after bond interest payments and premium amortization will reflect what the book value is. So we start off with a book value of $612,000. Make all of these dollars. We know that our cash is going to be $600,000. Let me go ahead and fill the dates. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. My apologies. These issued on 1/1. These issued on 1/1, and they have semi-annual payments. So 1/1/17. First payment 7/1/17. 1/1/17. Oh, 18. 1/18. So on and so forth. And that would go for 20 years. So the first step is, like I said, we have our carrying value. We know that what it is because you add the premium, the adjunct account to the bonds payable. And that gives us our carrying value on a day. So for cash paid, these are 10% bonds. So every time we go out to do a payment, it's going to be $30,000. This is $30,000 because they're semi-annual payments, so they're paid twice. So 2 semi-annual payments is 5% in each payment, or 600,000 times 10% times 6 divided by 12 to fractionate that time period out. This is a constant. This does not change. This is defined in the bond contract. To calculate what the interest expense should be, using the effective interest rate method, we take the carrying value multiplied by the yield, or the effective interest rate. So in this case, it's 9.75%, multiplied by the fraction of time, And that tells us that our real interest expense, our real cost of borrowing is only $29,835. Therefore, the difference between those represents the amount of premium amortization that should occur. I'm sorry, that's 97705. I have no idea why I said 9.75. I apparently lost my mind. 9.7705. So we come up with 102.27. For the sake of everything, we'll just leave it as it is. Our new carrying value is the old carrying value minus the bond premium amortization. So your interest expense is a factor of the current carrying value multiplied by the effective interest rate at the point of the bond. What should it have been if it was issued at exactly that amount? That is our real interest expense. And then our premium amortization references what that difference is between what we're paying out contractually and what it would have been. And then slowly over time, it lowers. And eventually we will come down to exactly $600,000 premium carrying value in that 20th year. So for B, which is the payment of interest and the related amortization on July 1st, 2017, after you had made this schedule of premium amortization on January 1st, you would then be referencing back to this schedule when you had your entries. So for 7-1, it tells us that the interest expense is $29,897.73. It also tells us that we are paying out cash of $30,000. We can't get away from that. That is in the contract. So therefore, we have to enter our amortization on the premium. Of 102.27. Therefore, we're now balanced and we move forward. We move forward to the next period. The next period is the end of a fiscal year. We will have 6 months that we'll need to pay out on the next business day. Therefore, we need to recognize the full interest expense because it has all been recognized. But it's not the same now, right? So that's $28,892. We're continuing to whittle away at the premium on bonds payable. And now that amount is 107. But our cash never changes. This is defined in the bond agreement. So when we want to look at this, and someone says, what is the carrying amount of the bond at any given point in time? You can actually look here and see that on that day, after the transactions, it is $611,559.95. On this day, it's $611,170.22. And this would just continue on through the full term of the bond. Now, the next one that we want to look at is 14.7. And I'm going to pull that up here. So in this one, oh, actually, I already did 14.6 and 14.7 in another video, so we don't have to do that one. My apologies. You'll find that in a different video. But let's look at 14.9 just for giggles. It's kind of a big entry rate. Big problem here. So let's copy this and paste this puppy here. So this is the entire problem, including the background information that they give you. And it says that on June 30th, 2017, Misha, our company, issued $4 million face value of 13%, 20-year bonds at $4,300,920, a yield of 12%. Our uses the effective interest rate method to amortize bond premiums or discounts, and the bonds pay semi-annual interest on June 30th and December 31st. So we received in proceeds in excess of the amount of the bonds. So let's just go ahead and start at the beginning. Let's start, they want us to do these journal entries. So A is journal entries. And number one is the issuance of the bonds on 6/30. So we would have the date at 6/30/2017. And we received cash for this issue. And we received cash in the amount of $4,300,920. Make these commas. Of that, in a matter of 20 years, we have the obligation to pay back $4.3 million. No, $4 million. My apologies. Therefore, we have the adjunct account of premium on bonds payable. It will hold the effect of the $300,920 in excess proceeds we received, so that we can allocate that over the entire term of the loan, because we have the benefit of this over the entire term. This will, in effect, reduce our cost of borrowing as we go through those terms. So now it wants to start talking about the payment of interest and amortization. Just for the sake of time, I'm going to come over and copy the header here, because we're going to need to create an amortization table. These are also 20-year bonds, but they are 13% sold to yield 12. So our first date was 6/30/2017. They are semi-annual, and they are on 6/30 and 12/31. So we got 12/31/2017, 6/30/2018, 12/31/2018. And that continues on, well, that continues on into basically what feels like infinity, but really it's only for 20 years. We know that the cash that we'll pay on these bonds is the equivalent of $4 million. I think that's enough zeros. At 13%. So we will be paying out this equivalent of cash every period that we pay interest. My apologies. Divided by 2. So we needed to multiply that by 6 divided by 12. Almost forgot there that these are semi-annual payments. And when there are semi-annual payments, half of it's paid on one date, half of it's paid on the other. Now, in 6/30, there was no payment because this is at the point of bond issue. So we'll go ahead and move that puppy to the first payment. We'll copy it because this is in the contract. This is the amount that we will pay out every time we make a payment. We know the beginning carrying value of these bonds was the equivalent of the full proceeds received. We know the effective yield for the interest. That is 12%. But again, that's 12% annually. Every time we do an entry, it's going to be for half of the year, not the full year. So our premium amortization we'll recognize as the difference. We'll remove that from the carrying value of the bond as time goes on. And I'm just going to populate this. I love that Excel does this for us. Makes life so much easier. So I've created the beginning of the amortization table here. I didn't create 20 years because really we don't need it for the entire problem. So the payment of interest and the amortization of the premium on December 31st, 2017. So we know that there is an interest expense because this is our regular semi-annual interest payment. We have a premium on bonds payable that is being amortized, and we have cash out. We already have determined cash out is $260,000. So for the interest expense, we come to our friend, the amortization table, and it calculates the interest for it. That's carrying value multiplied by 0.12 multiplied by 6 divided by 12. And then we reduce that from 260,000 to derive at 1945 for our premium amortization. We continue to move forward in the problem, and it talks about the payment and interest of the premium amortization on June 30th, 2018. So that's number 3. So now we're at June 30th, 2018. Let's just come down to June 30th. There's our interest expense. There's our premium amortization. So we have an interest expense of $257,938.51. We have a premium on bonds payable amortization, and that is $2,061.49. And then, of course, we have our cash payment, which is the $260,000, which never changes. But as you notice, the amount of premium increases and the interest expense is decreasing. So we come to 4, which is our entries for 12/30/2018. We're going to have our interest expense. We have our premium on bonds payable amortization. And then we have the cash that left. You know the cash that left is $260,000. Our interest expense, according to our amortization schedule, is $257,814.82. And then our premium is $2,185.18. So on 12/31/2018, we've come to the end of a year, and we just want to see for that specific point in time, what would the presentation of the bonds payable look like? So I will bring that down here. And then we will show that there is long-term liabilities, because these are 20-year bonds, right? We've got bonds payable, and we pay them at 13%. And they're due on June 30th, 2037. Some of this information would be included in notes, maybe not in the line, but it could be parenthetical in the line. Let's make those dollar values. Then we have our premium on bonds payable. And how we would ascertain what this is we would start with what the original premium was. The original premium for bonds payable was the $300,920. So let's start with that. Then we would reduce it by the 3 periods that we have had bond interest or bond premium amortization. Therefore, it's $294,728.53 that has been amortized. Or that is left from the amortization. So if we were to take both of these and add them together, which we will, we have our book value, bonds payable, we'll format this real quick to have both the upper and the lower borders. Oops, that's not a double border. I need a double. There we go. The date range we were looking at for this problem was 12/31/18. Let's go to 12/31/18, and lo and behold, the two values actually tie out to each other, as they should. If it does not, then you have a slight problem somewhere. So let's go ahead and go back one more time to see what our next here is. So we need to figure out what is the amount of the interest expense that is reported for 2018. The equivalent of your interest expense that would be reported, my apologies there, I have small animals who think that they are Dobermans. The equivalent of interest that would be paid, you would automatically in your brain think, okay, we paid $260,000. You did pay $260,000, but not all of it is a cost of borrowing. That is just the contractual payment. The amount that we are amortizing for the premium is offsetting that. So that is amount that was basically paid by the person ahead of time to normalize the interest rate to the effective rate. So let's look and let's do some evaluation here. So from January 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2018. So that is right here, right? That's the amount. So we have January to June 18. We know that this is actually the amount of interest. And then from July to December of 18, this is the amount of interest. So the amount of interest that is being reported for all of 2018 is this amount. We paid $260,000 each time although we paid out $520,000, only $517,753.33 is from our earnings. The difference in that of $4,246.67, we're basically taking out of the overpayment or the upcharge received in the bond proceeds. The next question asked us, will the bond interest expense reported in 2018 be the same as, greater than, or less than the amount that would be reported if the straight line method of depreciation were used? So the amount of bond interest that was reported in 2018 will be greater than the amount that would be reported if the straight line method of amortization was used. Under straight line, the amortization of the bond premium is $15,046. That is the $300,920 divided by 20, same amount for each period. Bond interest expense for 2018 is currently the difference between the amortized premium and the actual interest paid. Thus, the amount of the bond interest is $504,954. New. Which is smaller than the bond interest expense under the effective interest rate method. So for number 3, the total cost of borrowing over the life of the bond. So this bond has interest to be paid for it of $10,400,000. That is $4 million times 13% times 20 years. So that is the total sum of all the $260,000 payments. There's a principal due in 2034 of $4 million. So total cash that would be laid out for this bond is $14.4 million. Cash that was received at the issuance of the bond is the $4,300,920, creating a total cost of borrowing over the life of the bond of $10,099.80. Now, it will be the same regardless of which which method of amortization is used, because those dollar values themselves don't change. It's just when we're recognizing them that does. Underneath the effective interest rate method, we are recognizing it at a more accurate rate compared to the carrying value of the bond than if it was the straight line method, which just takes the whole shebang and says, okay, everything's the same from period to period. As the principal of the bond changes, then the interest that's attached to it, the dollar value is going to change, because the carrying value is going to change, but the interest rate itself, the percentage, doesn't. So as that carrying value changes, the amount of interest expense recognized in a given period will also change.